Welcome all to the Pro Football Radio Podcast. This is your co-host Jay Cheema with the pride and joy of Merrimack, New Hampshire, the Puma, and the Pro Football Radio senior contributor Eric Burgess, aka the Burg. Fellas, welcome in. Podcast 89. Week 1 of the NFL season is here.
Let's go! What is up? Dude, I don't know about y'all. I've been sitting at work all day. One, just looking forward to actually doing this with you guys. And two, we actually get to talk about a game. We're not talking about preseason. We're not talking about the 3s versus the 2s and all that bullshit. We are actually talking about games that actually matter. I'm friggin' excited if none of you guys can tell. And, Birch, how you feeling over there?
Dude, I'm excited. You know, we're finally not talking about practice. We're talking about the game.
Not a game.
We're talking about the game.
Yeah.
We're talking not a practice. We're talking about a game. You know, I've been, just the past weekend. You know, we just had a lot of time at work, and I just the only thing on my mind was like, let's get to next Sunday so we can get it. Well, actually Thursday with the Tom Brady, but we get to the all this football is back. You know, it's the best time of year. That's starting to get cooler out. You know, fall's my favorite time of year, so I'm super pumped, and obviously was looking forward to all day to be back in doing a game preview with you guys.
Yes, sir. On the agenda for today's podcast, we're going to break down a few games for you guys. The first one being the NFL season kickoff between the Cowboys and Buccaneers. We'll talk about rookie Mac Jones getting his first start against the Dolphins. We've got a divisional round rematch as well between the Browns and the Chiefs. We'll break that down. And finally, we'll hit on the Monday Night Football game between the Baltimore Ravens and Las Vegas Raiders. We'll also throw in a couple of takes to the banks. And then we're going to have the fantasy section with Burge as well. Before all that, I want to go ahead and welcome the junior contributor of the podcast, making his debut this week, Parker Burgess, the seed, the apple of the eye of Eric Burgess.
I love how you led off with the seed. We couldn't go with the apple of the eye. We couldn't go with the...
Parker Burgess is going to make his picks as well this week, and his pops, which is Eric Burgess, is going to give those picks, Phil. So welcome to the podcast, little man.
Oh yeah, it's fun, getting to do that with him today, and getting to get him involved in some picks for the week, and hopefully it'll be a season-long thing, and hopefully he doesn't do better than me, because that'd be kind of embarrassing, to say the least. So,
well, usually how
real
these
excited.
things go, he probably will be better than all of us.
I know. Usually the random shot is better than us trying to think we know what we're talking about.
Yes, sir. All right, let's talk some football. Cowboys versus Buccaneers, 8:20 Thursday night, season opener. What do you guys think in regards to this game? What's your analysis? Who's winning? Give me the full rundown. Puma, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. It's going to be a ratings bonanza. You have Tom Brady and the Buccaneers defending Super Bowl champs, and you have, air quote, America's team going into Raymond James Stadium, coming off of the hard-hitting, Hard Knocks season, which really only watched half an episode of the first episode. But that's beside the point. Actual game preview. Dak is back. He's had some shoulder issues. This was kind of chronicled in Hard Knocks. He, goes back and forth between a strain and shoulder fatigue and whatnot. So that's a little bit concerning. But Dak is back. We're going to see how this offense looks like with their franchise guy back underneath center. But the bigger concern here is this offensive line, which was already in shambles last season, and they look to be somewhat improved going into this game. A couple of days ago, we found out that Zach Martin's going to miss because he is in the COVID protocols. He tested positive yesterday, September 6th. He's more than likely going to miss. He's still symptomatic, so that offensive line takes a huge blow. And I think this is going to be a scoring bonanza because this Dallas defense is still awful with the capital A. I mean, they were 26th total defense last year. 23rd total defense last season. And their big upgrade was getting Dan Quinn as their new defensive coordinator, which, listen, we can all agree that anything's an upgrade over Mike Nolan from last year. But let's just look back in the totality of the last couple of seasons of the Atlanta Falcons defense with Dan Quinn under helm. I'll pause for your reaction. There's nothing to react to. It was hot garbage. So this is going to be a high-scoring game. Tampa Bay, the band's back together. They're all vaccinated. They're going to roll, and this is a gut instinct. I think this is going to be an Antonio Brown coming out party, especially with Chris Godwin popping up on the injury report today with a quad issue. I think Antonio Brown's probably going to have himself a day. I don't have any stats to back it. It's a gut call, but I think this is going to be a bonanza. I like Tampa Bay to win. The spread right now is 8. The over-under is 52. I'm taking Tampa Bay with the points, laying the points, and I'm taking the over in this game too.
Now, did you guys see that Antonio Brown didn't practice today due to a knee injury?
No, but I didn't see that, but fuck it. He's going to push through.
So I saw that both
he's going to push through
Godwin
because he's my fantasy team.
Well, that's that's a good reason right there. But I saw that both Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown kind of popped up on the injury report. But listen, I think, Puma, you're right. I think the Buccaneers are going to win this. It's going to be hard for the Cowboys to go into Tampa Bay and beat the Tom Brady-led team on opening night when they're dropping the Super Bowl banner. So one of the strengths of the Buccaneers is the front seven and the ability to stop the run game, especially without Zach Brown being there. So I think with the front seven slowing down Ezekiel Elliott, that's going to really force Dak Prescott to throw the ball. Now, what I want to see is how well Dak Prescott moves on that ankle, And if I'm the defenders, I'm going to try to, either lunge at his feet, make him feel a little uncomfortable, move him off his spot, see how well he can move with that injury, right? I mean, obviously, we all know from everything we hear, he's doing fine and he's back now. But, there's a difference in feeling fine in practice and going out to game speed and having bodies fly all over you. On the other end, I want to see how the Bucs offense is going to pick up from where it left off last year, right? I mean, obviously, we all know the story by now. They were 7-5 throughout the middle of the year. A little up and down, herky-jerky, but they really turned the offense over to Brady for the last 8 games, and they went on that magical run to win the Super Bowl. So I want to see where they pick up in regards to some of the new additions that came along. Gio Bernard, I want to see how he fits into the system. He's going to be that James White-esque third down catch out of the backfield back for Brady. He loves those guys. And then I want to see what O.J. Howard looks like. Obviously, he had that torn Achilles last year. And physically speaking, if he's healthy, he is the most physically dominant tight end on that roster, right? He's better than Gronk at his advanced age. He's probably better than the rest of the guys as well. So if O.J. Howard is fine and he can move like he used to before his injury, I think this offense just becomes even more diverse. At the end of the day, this is my take it to the bank. Bucs win 35-24 and cover the 8-point spread. I think the Bucs are off to the races after that.
So I'm going to be on my island again over here, huh? Starting the year off on a good note.
Is this more Brady hate coming?
He just didn't want to start vomiting in his mouth, saying he has to pick Tom Brady.
Nope.
All right, you got the floor.
I'm very excited to see what Dak looks like going into this game. Before he got hurt last year, that offense was a machine. They were putting up yards and points, fast. And I like to think that him coming back is going to reinvigorate that offense. They have 3 wide receivers who are really good, and Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, I expect him to take another step forward this year, and Michael Gallup, who's kind of the forgotten guy there, but before CeeDee Lamb was there, was a very effective receiver for them. Mm-hmm. Defensively for the Cowboys, I'm really excited to see what Micah Parsons does coming in. Going back to the draft, he was one guy I had my eyes on for the Patriots to take in the first round. I really like what he brings to the team. On the Buccaneers side, like you guys said, they're bringing everybody back. They're dropping the banner down there in Tampa Bay, celebrating their Super Bowl victory from last year. I think that this game could go either way. Obviously the absence of Zach Martin is a concern for the Cowboys, but I like to think that they're going to kind of at least put up a fight in this game. The 8-point spread for me is way too much. So if I'm picking a betting man in this game, I'm taking the Cowboys with the points, getting the 8 points in this game. Like I said, I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think, and I'll pick the Cowboys to win a field goal game here.
Okay.
Wow.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, and
going on my island. Oh, and then for the first pick of the junior contributor Parker Burgess into the podcast here, he also selected the Dallas Cowboys to win this game because that was the peanut butter puff that he enjoyed more. Who knows? He's going to probably be better than all of us. That's why I'm not going against him.
Now, if we break down that video you sent us, it seems like you're trying to get him
No,
to root
no,
towards the
no.
Cowboys very heavily.
No,
there
no.
seemed to be some sort of built-in bias there.
You watch the video, he actually scoots over to the Buccaneers logo and then reaches for the Cowboys logo. So,
The old fake out, huh?
yeah, he's like, you know what? I think it's going to be a closer game than people think.
All right.
Going with the underdog.
And Ndamukong Suh, he will be back. He was activated, so he'll be starting. Thursday night too. So
Yeah.
that's
Now,
a
is
key
there a
part of the
chance
defense.
that Zach Martin could also come back and play Thursday night, or is he basically done? Is it basically
I think
set
he's
in
out.
stone?
He's basically out. I mean, he would have to be. He wouldn't have. He couldn't be symptomatic, and then he needs 2 negative COVID tests within 24 hours. I mean, he would have essentially needed that yesterday to even have a chance at getting in on Thursday. And I mean, just looking through some of the beat reporters and some of the pressers too, I mean, it seemed like fait accompli. They're just going to put Zach Martin in mothballs for week 1. Whatever happens, and they'll hopefully have him back for week 2.
Yeah. And the rookie I'm keeping an eye on is that linebacker that the Buccaneers select in the first round, Joe Tryon, out of Washington. A dude's 22 years old, 6'5", 260 pounds. He's long, wiry. His tape, obviously being in the Pac-12, he's not going up against the best competition, but anytime you watch his tape, the guy jumps off the board. So if he can contribute and give you just that extra push alongside of JPP and Sue and the rest of that, Vita Vea and all those guys, I mean, that front four is going to be absolutely insane to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the first round pick for the Cowboys? Was that Diggs kid out of Alabama, right?
Parsons.
Parsons this year.
yeah.
Last year was Diggs.
Do you guys expect Diggs to take a step up this year and kind of really solidify that secondary, or is this still going to be throw a party on those guys?
Honestly, I think this is going to still be a pinata party on that defense. I mean, even if Diggs steps up, there's so many holes there. I mean, Leighton Vander Esch can't stay healthy. Sean Lee, I think he did. I know, like, in the offseason, he was mulling retirement. I don't know if he actually pulled the pin. Dan Quinn is Dan Quinn. Tank, DeMarcus Lawrence, they're all just a bunch of talk. Like, until they start showing me something, signs of life on defense, like stopping a bloody nose, then I'll start buying into it. But, I mean, Diggs might be able to step up, but everyone else is going to let that kid hang out to dry.
Yeah,
So
I think Jerry Jones agrees, with you, Puma. Like, I think if you remember at the draft, they traded out of the 10th spot after Patrick Surtain II went number 9. So I think that they were targeting a defensive back, not necessarily targeting the linebacker Parsons in the draft. So I think that they obviously see a level of concern with that secondary.
Yeah. So basically, the only way the Cowboys are going to be able to win this year is just outscore the opponents, right?
Yeah, and I mean we've seen it. We've seen it last year too. I mean, even when Andy Dalton and Ben DiNucci and someone named this other quarterback here. I mean, Kellen Moore, he would throw regardless of the score. I mean, especially if they're down. Like Zeke Elliott was neutered the rest of the season. Especially didn't help when he kept fumbling with the long sleeves on. But beside the point, they were so far out of games sometimes that. Ben DiNucci's thrown the football 45 times. Andy Dalton's thrown the football 45 times. So, I mean, they're going to have to throw. It's going to be an arms race. They're going to have to throw and keep up. And, for people that bet the over, it's, nothing is out of sight for betting an over in a Dallas game. But, I mean, in real life football, yeah, they're going to have to throw unless this defense shows signs of life.
I'm also curious to see how much they involve Tony Pollard in the offensive game plan. I mean, he was definitely solid last year when Zeke was having his issues and when he was hurt. He stepped right in and took right off. So I'll be curious to see how they balance that. Obviously in this game and going forward.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the Miami Dolphins traveling up to Foxborough to take on the New England Patriots. Sunday, 4:25, a game that me and Burge, and actually Puma as well, is we're all looking forward to.
Well.
Here we
Come
go.
on now.
Oh,
Here we go.
Come on now.
Just when I was going to give you the floor first. All right. Look, you guy.
Take it away,
I just like your kid. All right. No, I'm just kidding, Burge. You go first. You lead off.
Actually, before you do go, Burge, the Puma, are you wearing a Finch jersey on Sunday, or are you going with the Josh Allen jersey? Which one are we going with?
Josh Allen, get out of here! Don't even ask him.
Yeah, I'll go with Danny Marino. I'll go with the Danimal.
Okay.
I don't believe it.
I'll take a picture for you, Burge. I'll be watching it from the office.
Right on Twitter.
I'm busting out the number 12 Brady jersey, so that's where I'm lying at, and I assume Burge is probably gonna get that old beat up, cut up hoodie out of the closet. He's gonna wear that, right?
No, I'll pull out my red Brady jersey. Let's go. I'll pull it out. I'll post it on Twitter for you. You'll see it.
Here we go.
You think I hate him? You think I hate him? Keep going.
All right, Pat Patriot. What's your take on this game? What is it? It's at 405 or 425?
425.
425.
Right?
425.
All right.
425. 425 game. I'll just start off saying that I am very excited for this season after what we dealt with last year. There's a lot of optimism around New England, around this team. So going into this, Pat's at home. I hate playing the Dolphins down in Miami. That always scares me, but the Pats being at home, first game back, it's going to be very exciting to see what Mac Jones has in this game. Very excited to see what Jonnu Smith brings, and obviously the defense. Now, the key to the game for me is going to be how comfortable does Mac Jones look in there? What kind of position does the coaching staff put him in this game? I think that they're going to be very conservative in terms of what they ask him to do. They're going to run the ball heavy here. They have a great running attack. Their entire offensive line is there. Hunter Henry came out. It sounds like he's going to be good to go. We didn't see him all preseason, which was kind of a disappointment because he got hurt. Hopefully that's not a recurring theme throughout the season. So I really like what the front seven of the Patriots is bringing to the table. Obviously I'm going to be a homer here and pick my Patriots to win, covering the 3 points. Looking at it from the other side is going to be what kind of Tua. I'm not even going to say his last name. What kind of Tua is going to show up for the Dolphins on Sunday? Is he going to be out there slinging the ball around, or is he going to be a little timid, or are they going to be is he going to be throwing picks like he was last year? We'll see if he takes his step forward. But I'm going with the Patriots in this game. I'm not picking against my guys.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Puma,
alrighty. So I'm gonna roll with the Dolphins to win outright. I mean, the spread right now is 3 points. I think they cover. I think they're gonna win outright. Here's my thing. The only reason why I say that is I think this secondary with Brian Flores. I think he's going to be able to, they're going to be able to disguise some things to, kind of rattle Mac Jones a little bit enough to, we're going to have to score on the defensive side of the football if we're going to win this game. And in order to do that, Flo has to kind of throw the kitchen sink at this kid. But, I mean, at the end of the day, we saw this last year. Miami does not have a run game. We have not had a run game, honestly, since Smoking Ricky Williams retired from the Miami Dolphins. And everyone scoffs, but I mean, name another running back that had success, after Ricky Williams. It's like, I'll wait because I can't think of any. I mean, Myles Gaskin had he shined last year, then he went down for COVID. He had a really bad bout of it. He was out for, 2 to 3 weeks because of COVID and whatnot. But I mean, Omar Kelly, he covers the Dolphins for the Miami Sun Sentinel. He was on NFL Network, NFL Radio last night. And he said it himself, this offensive line for Miami, being kind, was average. But like with Austin Jackson, he might miss because he, is in the COVID protocols. He's vaccinated. The game's on a Sunday. He stands a chance to maybe start. But if not, they're going to have to move some, pieces around. And you factor in Tua as a left-handed quarterback. That even more hamstrings who you can move from the right side to the left side to fill that void. And the wide receiver position for the Dolphins, Jalen Waddle is really the only healthy guy out there, and healthy is kind of in air quotes because I think he was dealing with some soft tissue injuries. Will Fuller's going to miss, not just because of the suspension, but because he has a hamstring issue. Shocker. Preston Williams, he's coming off the knee surgery, but in camp he had a Liz Frank issue going on. And it's kind of up in the air right now on the pass catchers. So I mean, Jalen Waddle is going to be involved early and often. So, Burge, you might agree with me on this. Fire up Jalen Waddle for fantasy purposes, especially if it's PPR, because Tua has to throw the ball to somebody. But, I mean, long story short, like I said, it's going to be close. We're going to have to score on the defensive side of the football for the Dolphins. But I like the Dolphins to win in Foxborough. The spread's 3. Obviously, I'm taking them to cover that if they're winning. The over-under is 44. Actually, it came down to 43.5. I like the under in this game. It's going to be close. If you bet the under, you might have a heart attack, but I'm taking the under in this game too.
Yeah, Puma, you're right. Listen, they don't have a consistent running game unless you're playing the Patriots. Because last year, when the Dolphins played the Patriots in, was it week 15 or something, you guys ran for 230 yards, if I'm correct. I mean, Selman Ahmed had like 122 yards. Breida had 86 yards. And it was an absolute nightmare. And one of the keys for this game is, obviously, with the retooled front seven for the Patriots, we cannot have a repeat of, that game last year. You're going to have to essentially shut down the run game and see if Tua can actually beat you, right? Is Tua still going to be that check down Charlie guy, or has he taken that next step this year and he's going to start aiming the ball out downfield? So we'll see how that matchup goes. Now, on the other end, like, you said it, Bird, yourself, the first pro star from McCorkle himself, like, the Pats won't ask him to do much. He's going to have to be able to protect the ball and lean on the running attack. Damian Harris is probably going to have a big day. Stevenson, James White. We'll see how much run those guys get. And then the bigger thing that I'm looking for is I'm really excited to see how Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry are going to fit into this offense. We're going to be running a lot of 2 tight end. Are we going to try to emulate some of that old Gronk Hernandez, go down the seams and get some open balls to those guys? So we'll see how that pans out. I'm still going to take the Patriots to win this game, 21-17, low-scoring affair. They'll cover, but, I don't feel good about it, right? I mean, we're at the point now where we can't just roll into a season and expect, a win here, a win there. Everything is going to be a drag-out, knuckle fight. And in the bigger scheme of things, I've been kind of thinking about what I expect out of this team for the last 2 weeks, and I finally solidified it down to, I expect this team to win somewhere between 10 and 11 games, get to the playoffs, win at least one playoff game. And, I've said it many times, but this is it. I mean, this is it for Belafrod, right? He's got his quarterback. He's got a good enough roster. There's not many excuses left for him, and this is the year he's got to come through and actually perform. I was listening to the radio today, and I think one of the Boston guys was talking about how in the past, in the history of the NFL, there's been 6 teams that have spent $100 million in guaranteed money in free agency. Usually, with the exception of the Jets, those teams average 5 more wins. The last time that happened was the 2017 Bears, where they had 4 wins, and the next year they went out and spent like $100 million, and in 2018 they went out there and won 12 games. So the blueprint's there. We spent a lot of money this offseason. There's a lot of good talent on this team. Belichick got his top 15 average quarterback. Let's hope so, and we'll see what he can do with that.
Yeah, I'll just quickly touch on like your point about the run defense here. They've completely revamped this front seven, and it's a comparison to last year for this front seven wouldn't be fair in my eyes. I mean, they have Dietrich Wise, Lawrence Guy, and maybe Jawan Bentley are the starters that were there last year. They added Davin Godchow, they added Christian Barmore, they added Henry Anderson, Matthew Judon, who I'm very excited to see how he does. He had a great preseason.
Yeah, Judon's going to be a problem, like in a good way, like for opposing teams. Yep. Judon is going to be a massive problem.
And that's the way they're going to help out this secondary. Obviously, they're not going to have Gilmore for the first 6 weeks, and I think Jay, you and I, we're concerned about the performance of the secondary. How it was in the preseason at the end of last year. There supposedly the strength of that defense, and they really let them down. But the best way to help out your secondary is to generate a pass rush, and I think that they went out and they addressed that this year. Matthew Judon exceeded my expectations. What I expected out of him in the preseason. I remember we were talking back in March when they signed him. It was like, well, they gave him a lot of money. Is he one hit kind of guy? And, he left right where he left off, and he was an absolute beast. He was in the backfield every play. We also had that injury scare with him, which was like, get him out of there. He was a menace, and I expect that to continue through the season. And then obviously having the captain of the defense, one of the captains of the defense, Dante Hightower, back in there, after missing last year with opting out, is huge for this team. And I'm very excited about this defense and what they're going to do.
Now, listen, anywhere you look around on that front seven, there are some dudes, man. I mean, we're talking Uche and, Perkins and Barrymore and Judon. And, I mean, this front seven is going to be absolutely nasty. Now, obviously, like you said, the question becomes, if Stephon Gilmore isn't there and, J.C. Jackson is our number one corner, how is the number two corner going to look? Is it going to be Jalen Mills? Can he actually play at a high level? Everything we've seen so far, and I hate the fact that I keep saying this, Puma, you're right about that. I mean, Jalen Mills looks like he's absolute hot garbage. So we'll see if, in games he's different, but as of right now, and everything we've seen in the offseason, it looks like that number two cornerback spot is going to be something that's going to be a big issue for us down the road.
I'd like to see Jonathan Jones step up into that role, to be honest with you. He's been really good, as like a number 3 in that defense the past few years. I'd really love to see him step up because, he's shown some flashes in that secondary, in the last year. You hit it, Jay, about Josh Uche. That guy seems to have taken a step forward from last year, in this preseason. So excited to see what he brings to the table, too.
Well, there's so many, great, talented guys on the front seven that people Chase Winovich might be on the outside looking in. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And Wino can actually cause some damage in the backfield. So
Yep.
I think that front seven is going to be absolutely nasty. It's probably going to be top 3 when it's all said and done with the amount of pressure we're going to put on opposing quarterbacks and stopping the run game. I do want to ask you this down the road. Do you think Stephon Gilmore actually comes back in his place for us, right? I mean, or is it going to be one of those things where, week 6 rolls around or week 7 rolls around and Belichick's trying to trade him? What do you think is the end game with Stephon Gilmore?
Well, I think he's going to come back, and I think he's going to play for $7 million, and then he's going to walk at the end of the year. That's what I think is going to happen. And I think it's not like he's holding out where he's losing some of the money. He's on PUP, so he's going to get his full $7 million. So he's going to get his full $7 million for playing, 11 games as opposed to playing the full 17. And ultimately, me personally, I'd love to see get something done. Extend him out at least another year, and have him out there. And we talked about this a lot about him, about this pup list for him being a hold in where he's healthy and he's this is a contract thing with him. I think there is an outside chance that there really is, it is the injury that is keeping it out. And I know a couple of the guys on the Boston radio have brought that up and saying that the injury is real and that it very well could be, injury related. I mean, obviously, the contract is front and center when you're talking about Stephon Gilmore.
Yeah, I bet he'd be feeling pretty good if he got a new contract.
Yeah. Well, his comments over the summer, indicate that too. Yeah. So,
that's a good point. I wanted to bring that up, not to cut you off there, but Josina Anderson brought up when she was interviewing Stephon Gilmore about his availability for this upcoming season. He said, "I'll be ready if I need to be," right? Which kind of indicates that the contract is a bigger issue here. And Paul Perillo out of the .com crew kind of hinted on the radio that he's asking for almost double of what his base salary is. He's asking for a ridiculously high number. And that's one of the reasons why we all can't seem to fathom, well, if it really is only $3-4 million, why don't the Patriots just go ahead and cut that check and call it a day? Well, I think what we're starting to see now is, from what Paul Perillo said, I think he's asking for a ridiculous amount of money and the Patriots don't even want to entertain it.
I mean, that's fine with me. And, if this really is going to be his last season, I mean, at least if he's going to come back and play after those 6 weeks for the $7 million, he's going to be playing for his next contract. So you're going to get the best Stephon Gilmore you can get because he's got a lot riding on it at the end of the day. And if him doubling his salary, and if he's 30, 31?
Yeah, he's old.
He's getting up there in age too. So I can understand the Patriots not wanting to commit an extension to him, a long-term extension for him, with his contract. So at least he's going to have to come back and play. I don't think it's going to be a scenario where you're going to see him come off PUP and then get traded because the Patriots are going to end up not getting value back for him for what he's actually worth. Yeah. So I think the way this plays out is that he's going to come back, play the end of the season, play to the end of the season, and then I think at the end of the day he's going to end up leaving New England. Unfortunately, because I love Stephon Gilmore.
And I know we hate saying this because obviously it can't possibly be true, but I do think Bill Belichick mismanaged this whole situation. I do think Stephon Gilmore should have been traded last year, and they kind of flirted with that idea of trading him away, but they decided to keep him at the end of the day, and then obviously he got hurt, and that threw a wrench in everything. But the way it's panned out, this guy is basically going to walk in the end of the year and you get nothing in return for him. He should have been traded last year, and obviously we all say Belichick moves on a year too early before it's too late, and he should have done that with Stephon Gilmore as well.
Well, I think that's a fair point, but I also think the other side of it is, why did they just move a bunch of the money up from this year to last year when they did it, as opposed to just extending him at that point? And I think that's a fair second guess as well. Like, give him his money, give him a real extension. Don't just move the money up, so to speak. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think if they had extended him another year or two, that would be my max. 2 more years for him at the most. And, because he's going to start declining. I mean, obviously he hit his peak when he won Defensive Player of the Year. Is he going to still be that caliber guy coming back from a, pretty major injury with his quad? I mean, that can really impact your ability to move, especially in the position that he plays. So I can understand them not wanting to extend him. And I think that they obviously had a plan that he was going to be here this year. And I think that that's why they didn't trade him last year.
Yeah. On the other end, Puma, what's some of your expectations for the Dolphins going on? I know we always kind of run away with the train here on the Patriots. And
I'm glad you asked, because I was about to say, before we move on to the next game, I got to get my Tua take on
Let's
record.
Hear it.
Because
I want to hear this. Let's hear this.
We've been
talking about it.
We've been talking about it. We've been talking about this offline, and I want to put this out there on the podcast, radio waves, I guess you could say. I want to see Tua throw the fucking ball downfield. And, I can live with interceptions. I could live with picks if at least he's doing it, throwing the ball downfield to essentially what is a track team with Will Fuller, Devontae Parker, Jalen Waddle, Preston Williams, Mike Gesicki at tight end, who's really not a blocking tight end. He's one of those athletic hybrid kind of deals. You should be pushing the ball down the field. I can live with the picks. If we're going to dink and dunk our way to the end zone, Alex Smith, death by 1,000 razor blade style, I will fucking jump from a high place. I don't even care. You know what? I don't even care if it's like Jameis Winston 30 for 30. As long as you're pushing the ball down the field, I can live with that. But if it's death by 1,000 razor blades, Jesus Christ, Stephen Ross, cut the trade for Deshaun Watson. Let's get some guy that actually wants to push the ball down the field, for guys that can actually, stretch a defense and maybe open up the run game instead of stacking the box because the quarterback has no inclination to push the ball down the field. And Ryan Fitzpatrick ain't there anymore to break glass in case of emergency, who has that YOLO ball tendency. Push the goddamn ball down the field. Open up the goddamn run game. Let's go. Let's stack some wins together. Here we go.
Puma, let me ask you this. Do you think that they mismanaged last season with Tua? Do you think that has any implication on him? Yeah?
I think so, because, when you are in the midst of, it's at the time, I believe it was a 2 or 3 game win streak with Ryan Fitzpatrick, the team was really hitting on all cylinders, even on defense with the pass rush, which was kind of non-existent the last couple of years. They were buying into Fitz, and they were, he resurrected the career of Devontae Parker the year before. Everything was going great, and then they put Tua Tagovailoa in at quarterback, and he craps himself in front of, he wins his first start, which air quote win, the team kind of carried him. He was dinking and dunking the whole time. And then they go to Denver, and he couldn't get out of his own way. They didn't even have him in there with a 2-minute drill. They never did a hurry-up offense. They go to Ryan Fitzpatrick to save the day, and he almost comes back except for throwing that back-breaking interception in the end zone. And then we saw it with the Raider game where he started, and they panicked. They pulled the ripcord on Tua. They put Ryan Fitzpatrick in there, and they won. So when you're getting yanked when the game's on the line for a guy that clearly was performing better than you all season long, yeah, you've just completely bungled and neutered that kid's development. If you're going to, do that, you might as well have put that kid in mothballs for the season, especially because of the hip injury, and just roll with Fitzpatrick. And if he throws 30 picks, he throws 30 picks. And if he gets you to the playoffs, he gets you to the playoffs. But no, this was a management bungling of epic proportions, and now we're seeing it here. Because coming out of the draft, I swear to God, we're going to move to the Browns-Chiefs game. But going in the draft, everybody was saying Tua is like a more mobile version of Drew Brees. The guy can run, but he can throw the football through tight windows. It is September 7th, 2021, and they're already trying to run the kid out of town because he doesn't have proper arm strength and he throws in windows, which is what everybody fucking sold me on when we drafted him 5th overall, when I was banging the table for Andrew Thomas as the lineman at 5, and then you come back in the top 10 and you get Jordan Love, who can fucking throw the ball down the field. All right, I'm done.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I definitely think that them starting and benching him on multiple situations really can hinder a guy's confidence in terms of in terms of building on that. And I'm glad you agree with me for once on that.
Hey, I'm a fair man.
We call it like we see it.
I call it like it is with my 120 proof whiskey, which I'm going to need a lot this season if it's death by 1,000 fucking razor blades.
Well, I was telling this to Burge before you came online, Puma. Like, I just got this weird feeling that for some reason, and maybe this is it goes back to a 2008 Week 1 opener with the Pats and the Dolphins, where you guys came out swinging with the Wildcat and we had no answer for it. I just got this weird feeling that, Tua's pinned into a corner here. His head coach is trying to, justify his pick. I feel like they're going to come out swinging, man. I feel like, he's going to take advantage of some of our deficiencies in the secondary. Now, obviously, if the pass rush is getting to him, then, it's game over at that point. But if they can provide a little bit of protection for him, and with the weakened secondary, I think that we might see some fireworks on Sunday, man.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, smoking Ricky Williams was on that 2018, and in the words of Rick Pitino, he ain't walking through that door. He ain't walking through.
Oh man, could you imagine that Monday up in Boston if we lose to the Finns Week 1? Whew, it's not gonna be good.
Nope.
All right, let's move on to the Cleveland Browns traveling to Arrowhead to take on the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday at 4:25. Right off the bat, listen, to have a realistic shot of the Chiefs, of the Browns winning this game, they're going to have to run the ball very well with, obviously Chubb and Hunt to shorten the game, play sound defense, and essentially Baker's got to be able to match point for point with Mahomes. Those three things seem very simple as you list them out, but they're much more harder to do in person. And the one thing that I was talking with Burge before he came online, Puma, was, I think the blueprint has been set by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year in the Super Bowl, and even before that, the Raiders kind of played with this a little bit. You play cover too high with your safeties, and you make Patrick Mahomes, that Chiefs offense, go like 12, 11, 13, 14 plays on long drives, and essentially have some patience before they score, right? If you get up the easy, long play, that's when the Chiefs are most comfortable. And I've noticed with the Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, they don't want to run the ball. They don't want to take that small 5-yard dump off. They want to go long and go deep quickly to score as soon as possible. So if you put them in an uncomfortable situation, I do think the Browns have a good chance of winning this. However, at the end of the day, it is a Kansas City Chiefs. You are going to Arrowhead. I do think at the end of the day, the Chiefs are going to walk away with a win, probably in the realm of somewhere like 35-28. But this should be a very interesting game to see. And if somehow the Browns pull this off, man, that is a big statement win to the NFL. The Browns are here and they're for real.
Yeah, I'm going to go. Right now the spread is Chiefs. I think it actually moved to 6.5. The over-under, I believe, is 53, 54. I'm going to be the contrarian. I'm going to go with the Browns. I'm going with the Browns to win in Arrowhead, hostile crowd. That place is going to be bumping, that full house. But, here's my logic. The defensive line granted, Jadeveon Clowney has not had a season with double-digit sacks, but the dude can get pressure up the middle, and he can penetrate the pocket, and that's going to take some heat off of Myles Garrett coming off the edge, and then the linebackers and whatnot too. We have, Grant Delpit is actually going to start this year. He missed last season because he blew out his Achilles. I love this defense here. I think they're in a good spot. we saw last year what happened with this offensive line for the Chiefs when Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz went down. We can all laud about how they traded for Orlando Brown from the Ravens, and they signed Kyle Long out of retirement to play offensive line for the Chiefs too. But until I see it, I'm gonna have shades of the AFC Championship game where there were times where Patrick Mahomes looked uncomfortable, and then the Super Bowl where Mahomes looked like he had a really bad day at the office. So I think they're going to have to generate pressure. They're going to have to shorten the game by running the ball, and you have Nick Chubb and you got Kareem Hunt up there. And I like what Baker Mayfield did last year. Now the big thing is, how are they going to pick up where they left off now that Odell is back in the mix? Because we've been saying this for years, where this offense for the Browns, even before Kevin Stefanski, looked more in harmony when Odell wasn't there trying to get all the targets. And, Baker Mayfield was able to spread the ball around to everybody. Is that going to continue? Is Odell going to get in his feelings if he doesn't get the ball, X amount of times a game? So that's definitely going to be something to watch. But again, I like the Browns this game. I think it's going to be an upset of the week. I think they win in Arrowhead, and we're going to see what happens with the Chiefs moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, going into this game, obviously, I was a big detractor on our off-season podcast regarding the Cleveland Browns, picking them last in the division. I've come around on this team a lot over the last few months when we recorded that podcast. I love their running attack with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. I think they're probably they're one of the best in the league. They have two of the best guys there in the league. Nick Chubb is a beast carrying the ball. Obviously, Odell Beckham Jr. is back, and you can look back to the AFC the game they played in the playoffs last year. Cleveland should have won that game, and it just didn't work out for them. They dealt with a hobbled Mahomes, ended up knocking him out of the game, and they couldn't finish it off. I like what they're bringing to the table. Like I said, I've come around big time on this team, and this actually is going to be my take it to the bank game. I think Cleveland is going to win outright, and obviously cover the spread on this. Their defense, obviously, they have Clowney, and Myles Garrett is back. They drafted kid Greg Newsome at corner. The question mark for me is going to be what this new put together offensive line for the Kansas City Chiefs look like. Like you said, Puma, they traded for Orlando Brown. They brought Kyle Long out of retirement. They also signed, my guy Joe Thuney from the Patriots. They gave him a lot of money. So we're going to see what that looks like. But I've come around hard on this Cleveland Browns team, and I think that they're going to end up walking away from this. One guy to watch in the throughout the season for the Cleveland Browns for me is receiver Donovan Peoples-Jones. Obviously, if Odell gets banged up again, I think that Peoples-Jones could take another step forward.
Wow, so you both of you guys got the Browns winning, huh?
Wow, Burge, we agreed on things back to back. Well,
miracle.
not like game picks, but like how we agreed on like Tua, and how we agreed on the Browns winning. Holy shit! There is a chance for world peace.
I gotta go. Put it all on black. I gotta go find a casino. Put it all on black here.
My God, let's go. I'll drive you. I'll drive up there. I'll pick you up. We'll go to Mohegan. Let's go.
As long as we could stop at a Gamblers Anonymous meeting on the way back.
Oh, I already got like 5 unlocked. Don't worry about that.
Of course, Puma, the resident degenerate, is like, I'll drive you up there, brother, man. Let's go.
Let's go. I'll see the kid. I care more about the kid than you, Burge. And I'll say hi to Chantel. Be like, hey, I'm the reason why. One of the reasons why Jay's the main culprit is why your husband's yelling at his phone
What I
at
do?
night.
I did nothing.
You breathed. That's what you did.
Oh, hey, real quick. We forgot to hit on Parker's pick for the Patriots game, and he did pick the good guys, the New England Patriots, to win that game. And for the Cleveland Browns Chiefs game, he also picked the Cleveland Browns to win the game as well. So
3 Chiefs picks and 3 Browns picks and 1 Chiefs picks. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
All right. And the last game that we're going to discuss is the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Oakland Raiders on Monday Night Football.
Vegas.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're correct. The Las Vegas Raiders.
I'd rather they stay in Oakland because the black hole, but they're playing in the Death Star, so it's fine.
Puma, you got the floor, man. What's your take on this game?
All right, my take on this game. So right now, the point spread it is Baltimore favorite by 4 points. The over/under last I saw was 51. I woke up, in the words of Baker Mayfield, I woke up, I was feeling dangerous. I'm taking the Las Vegas Raiders to win this game outright. It's a homecoming for the Raider fans. They opened that new stadium last year, but there was no fans in the stands. So this is actually going to be a homecoming event in Las Vegas. I mean, you got the nightclub in one of the end zones. You got Mark Davis lighting the torch with Al on there.
Oh, God.
I mean, this place is going to be off the chain. Off the chain. Al Davis is going to crawl out of a goddamn casket, show up there, light the torch, yell, "Just win, baby," go back in the dirt, and Derek Carr and Darren Waller and Brian Edwards are going to have themselves a day. I mean, we all know about the offensive line shuffle leading up to the draft. Mike Mayock basically got rid of everybody except Richie Incognito, which I never thought I'd live to see the day. But Richie Incognito has been the stalwart of this offensive line the last couple of years. The heat's on. I mean, this team, John Gruden and spoiler for a couple of teams in the AFC West that are in playoff contention, but they need to make some noise. They need to make some noise fast. They're going to do it at home here. Now, granted, on the Baltimore side, if there was ever a time to see Lamar Jackson throw the football, it is now, because Las Vegas was pass. So there really is no excuse to not get, Sammy Watkins involved, the free agent acquisition, get Marquise Brown if he's able to go. I know he's been on the injury report, throughout training camp, get him to go and burn down the field. I think this is going to be a shootout. I think the Ravens defense took a step back without Matthew Judon there anymore. The over-under is 51. I'm taking the over in this game, and like I said, I got the Raiders to win outright. So let's go. Take it to the bank. Raiders covering the 4, winning outright. Take it to the bank.
Wow, Puma, jeez. Going with the Las Vegas Raiders, man. John Gruden.
Now that we're keeping track of picks, I got to be a little contrarian here. I got to get ahead in the win column. So let's go. Las Vegas, Derek Carr, take it to the bank, get in the win column. Let's go.
Yeah, and before you go, Burge, just a quick little update on the injury report. Looks like Josh Jacobs was absent from his second straight practice today.
Great.
For some unspecified reason, and isn't expected to return to the field until Thursday, is what the report says. So I don't know what that's all about, but that's definitely a little issue there.
Interesting. Well, hey, looking at the Baltimore Ravens going into this game, this is a make-or-break-it year for Lamar Jackson. I think he really needs to show that he can throw the ball, and not just be a real threat on the ground. Obviously, we know what he can do on the ground. He's a real threat to opposing defenses. I looking at the Ravens, I think that they might have to alter their approach a little bit this year. They've been decimated on injury front with their running backs. J.K. Dobbins was lost for the year in a preseason game. They just lost Justice Hill as well. So actually, I just saw that they ended up signing Le'Veon Bell to their practice squad. So that's something to keep an eye on. I like what the Ravens still bring on defense, even without Matthew Judon there. They still have Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphrey, Calais Campbell. They still have some big names on that defense, and looking at transitioning to the Raiders side. Obviously, we know that Darren Waller is going to get his looks and his touches and his touchdowns in this game. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with their receivers. Does Henry Ruggs take another step forward? Does Brian Edwards, who's been in my fantasy leagues, he's been kind of that deep sleeper for me. He beat out John Brown for that number 2 spot in that receiving core. Seeing what does he take a step forward? Obviously, we like you said, Puma. You talked about their offensive line shuffle, and obviously the concerns on defense. I'm going to take the Ravens in this game. I like them to at least with the -4, they'll cover that. And they'll win outright. And I think that we're going to see a different Lamar Jackson going into this season.
Yeah. Listen, I was going to lean towards the Ravens for picking this game, but I think Puma, you might have swayed me, man. I think I'm picking the Raiders here. I'm starting to lose a lot of faith in Lamar Jackson. We thought last year he was going to take this big jump, forward and become this great passer. Well, not a great passer, but definitely improve his passing ability. We've seen other quarterbacks do it. We've seen Josh Allen improve his completion percentage drastically, and I was really hoping to see that from Lamar Jackson last year. Wasn't there a story this offseason that John Harbaugh didn't want people to videotape some of the throwing that was going on in camp just because of how bad Lamar Jackson looked, or am I making that up?
I didn't hear that.
Oh, you didn't hear that? Okay. Puma, are you still there? Puma might be taking a little break. But listen, in regards to the passing ability of Lamar Jackson, he rushes for more than he throws, and that's never a good combination to have for your quarterback. Right now it's fine because he's younger. He still runs a 4.3 40-yard dash, but as you get older and you slow down and that 4.3 becomes a 4.5, then some of those hits start to add up on your body. So I really think he's got to develop that passing ability, because if he doesn't, then he's looking like a career like Cam Newton, right? Where essentially he basically never evolved that throwing ability and he had to rely on his athleticism. So we'll see how that pans out. On the other side, Las Vegas, man, I'm looking forward to see Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake together, that 1-2 punch. I want to see how those guys essentially bring the running attack. Obviously they lost Nelson Aguilar to the Patriots, so is Henry Ruggs going to step up and fill that void? Darren Waller, the dude's an absolute beast. The dude's a monster. So we'll see how he does. But listen, I think I'm picking the Raiders here, man. I thought I was going and picking the Ravens, but Puma's very persuasive. So give me the Raiders, somewhere in the realm of like a 31 to a 27, we'll call it.
Okay. Yeah, and
works for me because they cover.
I'll say
by the way, the mic cut out, so my bad. I don't know what the hell happened there.
No problem. But I was just trying to ask you a question, Puma. Did I make this up, or was John Harbaugh trying to shield some of the videos coming out of camp because of how bad Lamar Jackson looked throwing the ball?
So I don't know if it was because of how bad Lamar looked. I definitely know he was trying to limit video access to their practices. So I think it was just trying to keep the passing game under wraps. And I mean, we saw that into his MVP season, he was trying to limit how much video access there was as well too. But I mean, when you have stuff like that from John Harbaugh, and then you got comments from Lamar Jackson saying, "Oh, well, the league hasn't figured me out yet." Well, you're right. Like they can't really stop you on the ground. You're an elite specimen running the football. But at the end of the day, I mean, we saw this with Cam Newton. We talked about this last week. Mm-hmm. If you're just going to rely on the ground game and your athletic ability, down the road, when you lose a step when you're trying to run the football, you're going to have to rely on your pocket presence. And if you're going to neuter that development, then you're going to end up like Cam Newton a couple of weeks ago, and he ends up getting cut, and everyone wonders where he's going to go. So, he's going to have to air it out. And it's like Bigfoot. You hear it exists, but you're not quite sure. This is the fourth year now where we keep hearing about Lamar Jackson taking the step forward, throwing the football, and I haven't seen it yet. So let's see. If he doesn't come out against this 28th ranked pass defense for the Raiders and doesn't at least throw up like 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't.
I mean, I will say this. I mean, you look at his completion percentage, very close to what he had last year in 2019, his MVP year. I mean, he had a 64.4% completion percentage last year as opposed to 66.1 in his MVP season. And he also threw the ball less last year than he did in his MVP season. So it's going to be a matter of, for me to is to see what kind of plays they call for him to kind of get him to throw the ball. I mean, his average per attempt was essentially the same. So it's gonna be for me as if these weapons can get open and he can find them, as opposed to him just tucking it and running it every time.
Yeah. I mean, he passed for 27.57 last year, and then he ran for another 1,000 yards. So, he's getting to that same production number as most quarterbacks in that 3,700-yard range, but he's just doing it differently, right? He's doing it more with more rushing and less throwing. So, if that number bounces out, let's just, take down the rushing yards to 500 this year and add 500 more to his passing yards, 32, 33. I think that's going to do wonders for the longevity of his career.
I agree with that. Yep, absolutely.
And then the last point I want to make on this, and I think Puma, you hit on this as well, was this is the year that the John Gruden shtick has to work, right? His seat's not hot yet, but it's definitely getting lukewarm. And coaches like him and Bella Florida just like 1 year away from having some extreme heat on them. So this is the year that these lame average coaches need to perform.
Wow, it's like Colin Cowherd guest appeared.
That's all
on the Pro Football Radio podcast.
Wait a minute. What's so wrong about that take? I mean, he's not. It's not hot yet, but it's lukewarm. A year from now, if both of them don't have good seasons, you don't think the heat's going to be turned up? Like they're talking about it now on Boston radio. There's a chance it could happen, bro.
You just had to throw that in there. That's the point we're making on this with the Colin Cowherd aspect of it. Let's be honest.
Oh, it's not what I'm saying. It's just how I delivered it, huh?
Yes. Yes. My God.
Didn't the Raiders sign John Gruden to some like ridiculous contract? It wasn't like a 10-year deal.
10-year contract and part ownership of the team, and he makes most of his money now in Vegas because one, it was backloaded, and two, there's no income tax in Nevada.
Smart man. It was 10-year, $100 million guaranteed, fully guaranteed, and 10% of the equity of the team, right?
Yep.
That is
so when you say like the hot seat for him, I
think Mike Mayock's hot seat
agreed.
Is red hot, especially after. I mean, you look at the 2018 draft. I mean, Mike Mayock's lucky the Giants took Daniel Jones at 6 because Cleveland Farrell was a colossal failure right now, unless he is going to evolve into Bruce Smith this year. Jonathan Abrams can't stay healthy. He can't stay out of his own way, and he's probably one of the worst safety coverage, cover safeties next to Jamal Adams when you put Jamal back there to actually defend the pass. And they just cut some dude from Clemson, the linebacker. I forget his name because clearly he wasn't that important to me. But he was a special teams ace. He's from Clemson. He was a third-round pick. They cut him to make room for KJ Wright. Mike Mayock was going for like these high character guys, which is admirable. But at the end of the day, like you need to be able to win a football game. Like Cleveland Farrell is not it. Cleveland Farrell is not it. He can't just draft everybody from Clemson because of Dabo Swinney. That's all I'm saying. So Mike Mayock's seat is more nuclear red hot than John Gruden's right now. Only because the Davis family. I don't think they're going to fire John Gruden again.
Okay.
Or get rid of him.
Well, let's not call it lukewarm or hot. Let's just say the John Gruden shtick needs to work. I mean, he has underperformed. We can all agree on that. Mm-hmm. And I think this year a lot of eyes are going to be focused on him to see how he performs.
It's pretty sad when Jack Del Rio did better than he did. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Plus, I really just wanted any excuse to just lob Bella Florida in there somehow.
I was going to say. We all know what you're doing.
Real quick before we move off, Parker's pick for this game, the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay.
All right. Father-son duo. Got it.
All right.
I got to back my kid up. Let's go.
Let's go. All right. Well,
all right. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I was going to hit on the best bets, at least my tickets that I got this week. So, right now, across the Week 1 slate of the NFL season, yours truly, Puma, made his first pilgrimage down to the Montvale rest stop in Montvale, New Jersey.
The Montvale Casino?
The casino, if your sister's listening. So my Week 1 best bets, tickets that I have personally, I got the Washington football team +1 against the Los Angeles Chargers. Listen, we all love Justin Herbert. But the fact of the matter is this is a top 3 defense for the Washington football team. This is probably the best offensive skill set that Ryan Fitzpatrick has ever had. And even if he's just average, this defense is going to be able to carry the team the rest of the way and hold on to a lead. I think this defense is going to give Herbert some fits at times, especially with the new head coach in Staley. Give me Washington +1. I already went through Tampa Bay. I'm laying the 7.5 points. I'm taking the over in the Dallas game too. I have more exposure to Washington. I put them in a teaser with the Miami Dolphins. So I teased the Washington football team up to 7 points, and I teased the Miami Dolphins up to 8.5. I like the under in the Houston game, Houston-Jacksonville. I mean, granted, both defenses are bad, but both offenses are going to be horrid. Nothing was inspiring from Urban Meyer's offense in preseason, unless he's going to rip the Band-Aid off and just have LaVisca Chenault run all over the place with Marvin Jones, and Trevor Lawrence can actually get a semblance of an offense going. I'm going to take the under in the Houston game. I'm taking the under in the Rams-Bears game. The last 3 years, it's been a sloppy defensive game for all the high-flying offenses of Sean McVay. I think the Bears defense is going to keep it close. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. Might take it to the bank. Raiders plus the 4 and the over in the Raiders-Baltimore game. I got it at 51.5. So those are my best bets. And if you want a future bet, right now on the unofficial official sportsbook of the Pro Football Radio podcast, DraftKings Sportsbook, if you want to put a couple of shekels down for the Washington football team to win the NFC East at plus 200, I think that's going to be money well spent and money well earned at the end of the year when you cash that ticket in.
Money in the bank.
Take it.
Money in the bank. Take it to the bank. Let's go.
Cha-ching. All right, and then the final segment of the day, backed by popular demand, Fantasy Bullets with Burge. Now, Burge, I got a couple of questions for you. Let's start with the outlook on Kenny Golladay as a either wide receiver 2 or 3. So give me your rundown on what you think about Kenny Golladay as he's stacked on my roster.
Look, for Kenny Golladay, it's a thing of where you're drafting him. We're just going through all our drafts right now. He's a guy that could go either way here. Obviously, he's playing with Danny Dimes down there in the New York Giant football team down there. What's he going to do? Is he going to get him the ball? Obviously, they drafted Kadarius Toney pretty high in that offense. You still got Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard down there. They spent a lot of money on him, so I got to think that they're going to get him involved. He's not a guy that I'm relying on a weekly basis to be in my starting lineup. He's a guy that I would bury on my bench, a bye-week filler. He scares me. I'll just say that, and I would not recommend anybody go out of their way to, start him in your lineup. If there's anybody else out there in your drafts, such as, people ranked around him, OBJ, Chase Claypool, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, I'm taking all those guys over Kenny Golladay down there.
Okay. And then the other question I have for you, for my starting lineup, I've got one spot open, my flex spot, and I got 4 players to fill it with. So I'm going to rattle these names off to you real quick. Raheem Mostert is playing the Detroit Lions. He's projected to get 11 points. LaVisca Chenault playing the Houston Texans, 10 points. Ronald Jones playing the Dallas Cowboys, 9.1 points. And Chase Claypool is playing the Buffalo Bills, projected to get 9.47 points. So who out of those 4 is going to be my last flex start?
So this is a PPR league, correct?
No PPR.
No PPR, okay. Oof. That makes it a little tougher. It makes me want to lean towards the running backs. Probably, if I'm starting one of those four in non-PPR standard format, I'm probably going with Raheem Mostert. Reason being is it's week 1. The San Francisco 49ers are a run-heavy team. And you're going to expect that he's going to get out there. He's going to be the starter. He's going to get a majority of the reps. Now, if we're talking this question in week, say 12, I'm fading Raheem Mostert big time because I think Trey Sermon's going to eventually take over that role in San Francisco. But for week 1, I'm going with Raheem Mostert. Ronald Jones is a guy that really scares me, and I would not start him week 1 altogether. Just because, you know what the Tampa Bay offense is. They have Brady. They have all those receiving targets. They're going to throw a lot. They also have Leonard Fournette, and they just signed Gio Bernard down there. So, if it's me, I'm going with Raheem Mostert in that scenario.
And no concern of it being that running back by committee for San Fran, or is it one of those
No,
things
I think he's going to get the early down. He's going to get a lot of the work. In a standard format, I always like to flex 3 running backs over the wide receivers because the receivers in standard formats are kind of hit or miss. You're kind of relying on a touchdown to really make your day. Otherwise, you're relying on a 100-yard performance out of that receiver. So I would go with the running back there. And if you're gonna choose a receiver out of that week one, I'm going with Chase Claypool. So he'd be my number 2 out of that group.
All right, so looks like I have moved Raheem Mostert into the last flex spot. Check out my 2 running backs and 2 flexes. It's Christian McCaffrey, Najee Harris, Damian Harris, and Raheem Mostert.
I like it. I like it.
I think you're in good shape.
All right, that's all the questions I have. Puma, you got any fantasy questions?
Bro, the only one I is who for the week 1 slate. It's obviously it's super early. Like, who are some guys that you like? Call it a start sit 'em. Like, who are the guys that you're going to be firing up? Week 1. Not the guys like Terry McLaurin or anything like that. Like some kind of like mid-pack guys. I guess you could say sleepers with some upside. What are you looking at for some pass catchers that you want to fire up week 1?
So you're gonna call me biased here, but I think one that you're gonna want to throw out there, especially in PPR formats, is Jacoby Myers. He would be a guy I would consider a sleeper. I think he's going to be the safety blanket for Mac Jones in the Patriots offense this year. He's going to be the guy catching a lot of balls. Probably not going to get you a lot of touchdowns, which is why I wouldn't say he's good. He would be good in a standard format, but I think he's going to catch a lot of balls for that team. Another guy, this is a hit or miss one too, is Brandon Cooks. He's ranked pretty low, in the fantasy rankings just because of the team he's on. A lot of question marks down there in Houston, but he is the number 1 guy down there, and they don't really have much else besides him. So week 1, with not having to really be concerned about concussions at this point, you're kind of just rolling out your best lineup. Who knows? He may get popped the first play. Who knows? But he'd be a guy that, you can throw in there, and, he's going to be catching the ball from Tyrod Taylor there as well.
Awesome. Now, to follow up on your Jacoby Myers take, so for a flex, would you have Chase Claypool going up to Buffalo, or you have Jacoby Myers at home against the Dolphins? Who would you fire up in those 2?
And those 2, I mean, I'm going with just a safe play of Chase Claypool there. Pittsburgh, you know what their offense is. He's going to catch some balls. He's going to be a threat to get in the end zone. Every week at this point, he's a big play guy. So I as a safer play until we see what the Patriots offense is actually going to look like this year, because we really have no idea at this point. It's going to be completely different from what we saw last year. I would go with a safer play and Chase Claypool there. Absolutely.
Nice.
Okay, cool. Anything else you want to get to, Burg, before we plug it up and call it a day?
No, I think that's good. I'll report back next week to see how good my picks were and how good my fantasy teams did in week 1. I got some high expectations for a couple of my teams, so we'll see how it goes.
Cool.
It's going to be great. Swapping the war stories. Can't wait.
He's either going to be jubilance or it's going to be massive depression. We'll see.
Yeah, 4:25 can't get here soon enough, man. Ready to watch it?
Mm-hmm.
I just can't wait to park myself in front of the TV from 1 o'clock and just watch football all day, red zone, all of it. Can't wait.
I got the 2 TV setup going. It's gonna be awesome. Ready to watch. Ready to watch this new era of Patriots football. Let's see how it goes. Better fucking win, Bella Fraud. You better win.
Jesus Christ.
Puma, you want to plug it up and let's call it a day?
Yeah, let's plug it up, get it over with. I got to go to an AA meeting with some more whiskey, and I got to go to a Gamblers Anonymous meeting too. All jokes aside, seriously, if anyone has problems out there, obviously go get help. Go to AA. If you have a gambling problem, feel free to go and call 1-800-GAMBLER. I am not advocating any gambling issues or alcohol problems. It's all tongue-in-cheek for anybody in 2021 that gets in their feelings about a joke. So this episode of the podcast and previous episodes of the podcast can be found on Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. Be sure to leave a 5-star review, leave a question. We'll probably answer it on the upcoming episodes of the podcast if you leave a question. But definitely leave a 5-star review. It helps with some algorithm, and they carry a 1 out there in Palo Alto, California. And it helps with our exposure to the rest of the masses. Social media-wise, Facebook, Instagram, Pro Football Radio Podcast, Twitter @PFR Podcast. I'm on Twitter, Brando_Puma. The captain of the ship, Jay Cheema, is on Twitter @Jay Cheema. And our senior analyst, senior contributor, and the father of the little guy, the apple of his eye, Parker, Eric Burgess, a.k.a. The Burge, is on the Twitter machine @Burge the goalie. I know I say it all the time, but it's really no lie. You want to see him go hard in the paint against anybody talking shit about Tuukka Rask, anybody talking, defending Adam Jones, or he just wants to see him go hard in the paint against the captain of the ship, Jay Cheema. Give him a follow, Burge the goalie on the Twitter machine. And that's all I got for plugging, unless I missed something, or Liz Taylor, if you got something you want to say, and then we'll get out of here.
Puma, I was just waiting for Coach Connect 4 so I can lose it again.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
The captain of the ship, also with the master of the nicknames, Bella Fraud, Bella Shit, Connect 4, Chestnut Checkers, Bella Hitler. That was actually my favorite one you said offline.
Oh my God.
The captain of the ship, Jay Cheema, the pride and joy of Columbus, Ohio. If you need help with a nickname on anything, slide up in Jay's DMs @Jay Cheema. He will come up with some magic for you.
All right, quickly, Brandon.
Listen.
I was trying to explain to Brandon that the Asante Samuel remarks did cause a little ripple. It did have people talking about it. I saw it getting some national traction, and for me, I'm taking a little bit of I'm taking pleasure on a little victory, and I was equating it to, the Allies didn't beat Hitler and Germany in one big punch.
Oh my
God. It
God.
was little wins at a time, and the Asante Samuel win was a small one, but little by little, we will take down Bella Hitler, okay? It will happen someday.
Listen, you realize you haven't heard anything from Asante Samuel in the last week, right? Since that happened, all right?
I mean, he did the mic drop. He did the mic drop because they were talking about Good Morning Football for 15 minutes yesterday.
Dude, this thing got some traction. It was everywhere. I was like, oh, wow, this is nice. I like this.
Listen, when I come down and actually meet you in person in October, I'm going to school your ass at Connect 4, all right? You best bet. I'll put money down on that shit. I'll put money down on it.
I'll buy the... Oh, man. Burge is going to bet. All right. Here we go. Bet that hard-earned cash. And on that note, before we get the hell out of here, Freddie Soliotis, you're fired!
All right, enjoy week 1, guys. Talk to you next week.
Via Condios.